As Mexicans, it is necessary for us to remember those last days of the year 2012 as the end of the world. Indeed, the Mayan indigenous calendar predicted the 21st day of December of that same year as the end of the world. Perhaps it was an indication or a signal of an upcoming failure and collapse. The emergency for us was to review the days and months of the last years, to go over the events of our lives taking place in recent times. Our most personal and intimate life, as well as the political and the national one. Why? Perhaps the question is, what was the world we were living just right before the end? By reviewing the last events of our lives, our attempt was somehow to bring at the fore the uninterrupted rhythm established by Mexican modernity's tempo. The pace of modern Mexican history has been set by a 6-year period, the length of time of each presidential term of office. In Mexico, it is popularly known as sexenio. It is the way we conceive and understand the cycles of the political events. It has been a temporal conjunction for national, collective, domestic, and personal life for almost the whole 20th century. But the music of political power has never existed without some other rhythms always appearing, always disrupting either expected or unexpected, parallel rhythms, collaborative rhythms, or antagonistic rhythms. But for the former sexennium, starting in year 2006 and ending in 2012, the rhythm had turned into a very sinister period. The incessant count, which still remains until today, of the hundred thousands of dead and missing people due to the non-stopping violence sparking after the war declaration against drug cartels by ex-president Felipe Calderón. So, the rhythm of the state became a continuous hiding place for the arrhythmia of its failure, the arrhythmia of its collapse. Our purpose then was to create a counter-rhythm by going over our own experiences from those devastating years and then foretell the world to come, lo que viene. That initiative was that project, lo que viene, roughly translated in English as what is coming, what it is coming, what is to come, or whatever comes.
Lo que viene is a place to review the last 6 years, a place to remember through experience and words pronounced by any of us, of anyone wanting to be present on stage and speak loudly. Talk to just talk. Talk to sail and connect the islets of memory, the public memory, the memory from the media, intimate and particular memories, even fragments remaining from our dreams during that time. Talk as well about the thoughts that haunt us, of what is to come that is already present. It is about giving form and body to the haunting spectral images among the newspapers, between the numbers and statistics, between political and historical speeches, within our dreams and nightmares. It is about evoking and bringing them to life, the life of any one of us.
The life of any one of us, if as Argentinian sociologist Eduardo Gruner states, for power, real or anyone at any time, lo que viene was an open space for those anyone, for whatever singularities, or to quote Giorgio Agamben's word, the coming being is whatever it is. Lo que viene was, without a doubt, a theater production, even though it was conceived, produced, rehearsed, managed, and performed in a complete non-traditional way, especially for Mexican conservative bureaucratic standards, or Catholic experience. It was an open theater for approximately 10 hours per day, from 12 noon to 11 p.m. at night, gathering the newspaper from almost the whole Felipe Calderón section. 6 years of daily newspaper to revitalize our memories to the highlights of our political and social life, printed on paper. And for 5 microphones were standing there, awaiting for the people, who we may refer as either audience, viewers, spectators, or participants, to speak out loud, by sharing their own experiences of those past 6 years. A telephone enabled to receive free long-distance calls from the whole country was installed inside of the theater, where the phone calls were listening live to speakers inside and outside the building, just as the inside microphone set on stage. So the people talking to us was susceptible of being listened by anyone near the theater, and whose speeches were always recorded by a special computer program. It was a space to be inhabited and appropriated by the common people, a place for potential conversations where recorded instructions would be often reminding the questions made by Teatro Ojo to be answered in front of the microphone. Several wooden tables with lamps were standing there to help review the news, the notes, photographs, ads, essays, etc., all mixed with each own personal memories. And one specific table was carrying a vellum paper roll, crayons, markers, dark and color pencils, erasers, scissors, and glue to draw, write, trace, color, cut, or paste any possible thing. Also water, coffee, and tea was available at people's. A video depicting the construction of a monument happening very near the theater was shown incessantly during the installation performance. When the space was empty of audience or when nobody's account was made, the recorded speeches were replayed once again as being listened inside and outside the theater, just as a sounding.
Lo que viene is an exercise for the memory taking place at the Theater El Galeón, a few meters far from the site where the memorial to the victims of crime is being built. We even share the same federal property, and it's only the Campo Marte keeping us apart. We question then the role of theater, and especially theater that is subsidized by public funds, facing the state of national emergency that the country is experiencing, and the need to understand how are we going to tell this story, the story of what is happening to us, of our lives.
It became a swarm of subjectivities, events, faces, bodies, and encounters, making a web of stories, links, chats, names, pictures, and voices. Indeed, Lo que viene became a place to expand in an ephemeral way our own possible origins, or as the Spanish Catalonian philosopher Santiago López Petite states, written as the very expression of the will to live. Perhaps a potential space for the anonymous in which people speaks out loud and loses the key. So, by the end of our world, different protests and demonstrations with different features appear within the end of this term to demand the acceptance of a fair general law for victims. Former President Calderón government instead decided to build a magnificent monument, the memorial for the victims of crime, paradoxically denying the total of the victims killed by the unleashed violence. It meant not all people who died by means of the violence caused by the war against drugs will be considered as a victim, but only those convenient to the state. Sometime before, during this term, another senseless monument built in that same important government, Mexico City, ended up involved in a big corruption scandal, Nevertheless, we shall remember that in Mexican history, in the 60s to be precise, some unwanted and undesired statues were blown into pieces. We ought to think the action of destruction of that monument opened a path for the construction of something else.
The first thought we had was to stop, interrupt inertia, and provide a time and space to look at each other, remember each other and be affected, to empty and dismantle, to undo, to try to understand and remember the present of a time like the one we are living, painful and confusing. We could for now just formulate a collective theatrical practice in its fundamental sense. Make the physical bodies present here and now, remember and give conversation and place, to talk and listen, to imagine.
As a reaction against the authoritarian and decisive decision, groups and caravans gathering together activists, artists, political actors, and mainly the surviving relatives of the dead people killed during the violence, started a procession to demand justice and to spread the news to the entire country and beyond. So the monument dedicated to the victims of crime began to be built within a military venue in the most important street of Mexico City, just some meters far from a theater zone where a Teatro Ojo piece was scheduled to be produced, to be rehearsed, and to be performed by the end of the year 2004. So, the memorial for victims of crime and the Galeón Theater in Mexico City were sharing the same property belonging to the state. And we were there witnessing the construction of that building over the everyday life of that specific zone of the city, listening to the machines and daily work it produced, awaiting for the presidential transition, the departure of Felipe Calderón, who led us into the war against drugs, and the arrival of who is today's president, Enrique Peña Nieto, who represents the return of the party who ruled over Mexico for almost 80 years, and who has not stopped the violence left by his predecessor. The original project was inspired on French art historian Dorothy Lieberman's book, Invention of Hysteria, and was an attempt to work towards the use of explicit violence exposed everywhere since year 2000, creating a syntagma and syntax for a grammar of fear, and the psychical effects or influences it was causing throughout the country. It was a question about something we used to name among Teatro Ojo as the overproduction of hysterical images as a way to create and spread a hidden production of social fear. It was the emergency of those days, and it is still an emergency today, to create a space able to give place to whatever was and is yet happening to us. Spectral images surrounding and haunting us and penetrating our most intimate and personal lives. So, we decided to change the tide. Following the reading of a more recent book by the Lieberman as well, The Survival of Fireflies, we found the description of an amazing experience by a female journalist named Charlotte Berat, another survivor of the Third Reich, raised in Germany during the 30s, who conducted the unreasonable task, which are who conducted the unreasonable task of gathering a high number of anonymous dreams to offer something like a psychic document or an intimate seismograph as a possible countertest.
We also want to generate an archive of experiences and memories, an intimate and oniric seismography living testimony of this time, from the smallest trembles, movements that are barely registered, but we can certainly feel. We call on those willing to participate in this exercise by sharing, speaking, listening, and remembering time and life.
Remembering time and life. So we were there producing a theater play with a federal grant in a federal theater building, sharing the same federal property with the place where the memorial was being built, and we decided to use the money from the state as a way to talk back to that monument. We ended up deciding to rather transform that spot into something close to a public square, where words could be said and could be listened. An agora, or perhaps a speaker's corner, or perhaps a sounding board. According to Spanish book, The Babel Hypothesis, perhaps a tower can be displaced through a collective warp of singular but jumbled collective words. It says, the supposed verticality of a monument is only an illusion created by architecture, and always demolished by literature. Lo que viene was the attempt to speak from the deepest, maybe archaic horror surrounding today's Mexican presence against the systematic terror produced by the projected state monument as well as by the monumental state. The constant pronunciation of dreams, premonitions, desire, memories, fears, joys, claims was nothing but a strategy, a subtle spell to keep us away from them, and a way to point out the masked monument rising before us. It is said that one night, Mexican painter Francisco Toledo was stung by a poisonous scorpion. It was late night and he was home alone. The first thing he remembered was a childhood memory when his aunt was also stung by a scorpion. The aunt's tongue began to paralyze as the first signal of her death. So the artist, terrorized, decided to start talking. Talk just to talk, to avoid his tongue of getting paralyzed and in such way dispel death. Talking like this, he got off the hook, but remained the complete night talking until sunrise.
How has been your life in the past 6 years? Is there any concern currently disturbing you? Do you remember a dream for the past 6 years? How is your family doing? Do you currently have any premonitions? Do you miss something from the past? What have changed in your life in the past 6 years?
Lo que viene was a manifesto. It was a statement for a moment of emergence. And as you may notice already, the world has not yet ended. Nevertheless, the 21st day of December of 2012, many indigenous Zapatistas in South Mexico celebrated the end of a world as the end of an era. They walked together with a numerous silent demonstration. who used to be their spokesman, Subcomandante Marcos, posted that Sunday an announcement warning about a coming collapse. Did you listen? It is the sound of the world crumbling. And after foretelling the falling apart from world, he opposed that inevitable collapse with another concept. It is the sound of our world resurging. And yet, the world has not collapsed, but perhaps it is a constant, non-stopping collapsing what his words were predicting. So, the future arrived, needless to say, is our present, and yet things are not getting better. With a landscape of several slaughters executed by military and federal forces, with the students being kidnapped, tortured, and killed, as mentioned, with countless mass graves appearing throughout the country, and the systematic threat against journalism and freedom of speech, the question might be how to learn the steps to walk through the night and survive within this environment.